My Lords, there is positive information in the labour market. The claimant count is falling, 43,000 on the year. More than 500,000 people have moved into work over the past year, and real wages have risen more since July 2024 than they did in the first 10 years of the previous government. However, there is more to do, and we're delivering through our Great Britain Working Plan, which includes creating a new jobs and career service, tackling economic inactivity due to ill health, and delivering our youth guarantee.
I make no apology for holding the government to account on the issue of employment. Having been brought up in Liverpool, having been a Merseyside MP for 21 years, I've seen the damage that can be done by depriving people of the dignity of work. Now we have unemployment rising towards 2 million. In my 50 years in Parliament, every Labour government has left office with unemployment higher than when they took office. When will this government realise that you cannot tax and regulate businesses into growth?
Well, my Lords, I share the noble Lord's sentiment about the importance of the dignity of work. But I would say that unemployment is a long-term trend, both here and across the G7, and it's been rising indeed since 2023. The good news is, however, that the number of people who are economically inactive has fallen by nearly 500,000 because more people are actively looking for work. Indeed, last year employment grew by more than 500,000, which is nearly twice as much as the rise in unemployment. He asked what we will do about it, and the answer is clear. The government's taking action on young people who are neither earning nor learning, which the last government ignored. The government's taking action on long-term sickness, which under the last government reached a record high. And the government's seen a pay rise since it was elected than it did in the first 10 years of the previous administration, helping to tackle the cost of living. We are going to solve the problems we inherited, my Lords, and we're doing something about it.
My Lords, can the noble Lord, the Minister, elaborate on what assessment has been made of the number and the type of jobs most impacted by AI-driven automation?
Well, my Lords, we're working across government to monitor the impact of AI and support job creation, providing skills training for those facing disruption. Indeed, just last week, the Technology Secretary announced that every adult in the UK is eligible to take free courses to gain practical AI skills for work and to target to upskill about 10 million employees. It is undoubtedly the case that AI will transform the world of work, but the government is taking action by establishing the AI and Future Work Unit in DCIT to ensure this transformation boosts productivity and opportunities rather than deepening inequality.
My Lords.
So the Lib Dem benches.
Thank you. I love the optimism from the noble Lord the Minister. Could the noble Lord the Minister say what distortion there is on the employment figures by jobs which are not real jobs, 0-hour jobs, where people do not know whether they have a job tomorrow, next week or next month? There are so many people who seem to be now counted in the Minister's assessment of jobs which are not fully employed. And could the Minister say if the government has any actions it's going to do to turn those negligible jobs into real jobs?
Well, I am, of course, very much a glass half full type of person, my Lord. But I would say to the noble Lord, this is very much one of the core bits of reform, parts of reform that the government put through in the Employment Rights Act to ensure that 0 hours contracts don't drive standards to the bottom. We are about rewarding good employers and ensuring that they're not undercut by bad employers through mechanisms like 0 hours contracts.
Last Labour government in which I was a minister made huge strides in reducing long-term youth unemployment. But tragically, we're in a situation now where we have 1 million young people not in education, training or work. And if there's one thing a Labour government should be about, it's opening up opportunities and providing jobs for young people. This should be the government's #1 priority, and it should be talking about it every single day of the week. So can the Minister update the House on what the government's doing to massively expand the number of public sector apprenticeships, set an example to the rest of employers in other sectors, and ensure that companies and organisations which benefit from public sector procurement and massively increasing the number of apprenticeships they provide as well.
Well, I completely agree with the Noble Lord's assessment about the importance of tackling youth unemployment. And indeed, we have set a bold new target of 2/3 of young people participating in higher-level learning, whether academic, technical or an apprenticeship, by the age of 2025. And indeed, as you heard from my noble friend Baroness Smith of Malvern just earlier, we have a youth guarantee, and we have Alan Milburn leading an investigation into the causes of needs to tackle needs, and that he's working at pace. There'll be an interim report in the spring and recommendations in the summer. We are taking this very seriously, and we will act on it.
Lords, my lords, as
Harrington. So we haven't had the Labour benches yet. No, we haven't. He's not. I'm sorry. The Labour bench next. Lord Austin is a non-affiliated member of this House.
Thank you. It's really excellent. Following the previous question, which I think set out a strategy for dealing with youth unemployment, can I just remind people that it was under the free market antics that we've heard from just now from the Thatcher government that actually decimated my constituency and many Merseyside constituencies and left them with record levels of unemployment.
Of course, I completely agree with my noble friend. And just one illustration of that. Under the last government, long-term sickness became the most common reason people were economically inactive for the first time, reaching a new record high of 2.8 million people. This is a shameful record, my lords, and not something they should be preaching to us on.
Lords, my lords, I'm trying my best.
Right, with plenty of time. Conservative benches next, then the cross benches.
Thank you very much, Chief Whip. My lords, I do my best in these questions not to give the Minister, particularly this Minister, a hard time. However, in my capacity as Chairman of Make UK, which has 26,000 manufacturing companies, we speak to a lot of employers. And they find that in the last year or so, they're faced with energy costs which are twice as much as their competitors in Europe. And despite the government's announcement nearly a year ago of a reduction in these energy costs, they don't see anything happen. Secondly, an increase in national insurance, which is a big payroll tax. And thirdly, the bureaucracy and other things that come out of the Employment Rights Act. Given all this, how can the government expect employers to employ more people?
The noble lords raised a number of factors there, and I don't want to take up too much time for the House going through them one by one. But I will say, for example, I've already talked about the Employment Rights Act and how that's about benefiting millions and millions of employees. It's also, to be absolutely clear, we are taking active measures on energy costs. We're working with Sir Charlie Mayfield to tackle to ensure that people, when they get work, they stay in work, and then lots of employers are working with him. He is indeed working with over 120 businesses which employ 5 million workers as part of the vanguard phase of his plan to ensure that we don't just get people working, we keep them working. So I understand the challenges that this government faces of fixing the mess the previous government made of the previous 14 years. Well, what you don't undo 14 years of damage in merely 18 months.
In view of the continuing high level of long-term unemployment, would the government seriously consider the TUC proposal for a national job guarantee with wage subsidy to employers for up to 6 months targeted at the most vulnerable areas? And would it further consider the argument that the TUC has made that such a job guarantee would largely pay for itself by increasing revenues and reducing the spending on welfare?
Well, I thank the noble lord for raising that interesting proposal. I don't know the detail of it, so I'd have to take it away. But I would say that, of course, that is very much what we are doing with an element of our youth guarantee, as we heard earlier from my noble friend Minister Smith. This is about giving for young people a 6-month guaranteed job for those who've been receiving universal credit and looking for work for more than 18 months. And that's the kind of model that we are indeed trying out to tackle that particular very hard to get to and important to tackle part of unemployment.
My lords, I'm also a glass half full person, but in terms of what the Noble Lord have said, there are two major reviews into the welfare system with a link to work. They're due to report later this year at last, but their recommendations are likely to require primary legislation. Then there seems to be a perfect storm of inaction or delay, with no decisions expected to be taken on welfare this Parliament. So what is happening? Can the Noble Lord, the Minister, tell us what is actually happening on welfare?
Well, I think to echo the words of my noble friend Minister Smith, all this is around reforming the welfare and the way to get people into work more comprehensively. These are serious, deep-seated issues that we must take time over. But as I've said, in terms of the Milburn Review, which is about tackling NEET, which is one of the most serious problems, I think the House agrees, one of the most serious problems the country faces, the economy faces, and young people face, he is working at pace to deliver on that.